Awareness is an interesting phenomenon because when you are aware, you don't have your mind functioning. You're not thinking. When you're aware, you have to perceive what's going on as it is. And whatever may pop up, you want to be aware. So it's kind of like the state of expect the unexpected. You shouldn't expect anything, or you can see what may come. So you can call that expectation, but basically you are eye watching to assess what's going on. So that's awareness. And when I use the term and investigate, I'm aware that I'm aware. That's the study of going out of mind to deep sense of awareness, what we are aware. And on top of it, as I said, there's big me. I'm aware that I'm aware. There's another one watching if I'm aware. So it's kind of like a double awareness. And it sounds weird and funny, and it's paradoxical, but what boils down is that when you say, I am to be aware that I'm aware, as soon as you calmly study, you get to the pure awareness, nothing left. No me or no mind. And therefore, next trial, I said, let's try, I'm not aware that I'm not aware. And if you see that, if you're not aware, see what happens. As soon as you start to study if you are or you are not aware, or you think you are not aware, and therefore you try to see if you're not aware, then that brings you to the state of awareness, because to be aware or not, you have to be aware to figure out what is going on. And for that, there's no mind. So either case, you get to the core, the bottom of awareness, because there's nowhere else to go. That's the whole point of it. And when you get to the point, the mind is calm and quiet. And there's some new dimension of the state is popping out. And I say that's just wonderful because there's a blissful sense. And I mentioned the term Dhammapiti. You are with the law of nature, and there's the bliss to go with it in that empty space. And I use the word by Eckhart Tolle, the stillness speak, or vast emptiness, no mind. Whatever that is, that state is to be seen as basically the core of our being. There's nothing there. Mind cannot reach out to that empty space, but that exists at the bottom of our being. As much as I mentioned that the mind is a function of the brain, which is added as we evolved from the monkeys and let us, whatever has been in the past, as a new phenomena. But at the root of our being, where we came from, is that emptiness where things are happening, whatever the way it is, as the nature may take place. And you can be in that state of being. And there's a calm and quiet, peaceful, blissful sense. And that's like a floating in the air. Nothing is blocking. All infinite emptiness, the void, the blue sky. And you are just comfortable. Actually, there's no you. You just experience that being where the law of nature is manifesting and the life is being born and all that stuff going on. Everywhere in the universe that's happening, and that's the awareness or state of being. So that's the two dimension I mentioned about. One is the mind dimension, that we have a limitation if you stay in the mind, but if you get out of it by calm and quiet mind, you reach out to that depth of our being where you can connect to all the manifestation of law of universe, because you are one of them. There's no you, but it's just a vibration and energy. And in that space is the peace and the bliss. Hoetsu, Dhamma piti. Dhamma is law and piti is bliss. And that's such a peaceful experience. And Tolly talks about stillness speaks. That's the wisdom, the origin of wisdom. And what I'm sharing here is that you can get there by either practicing I'm aware that I'm aware, or I'm not aware that I'm not aware. Because to be able to say or prove that if you're not aware that you are not aware, you have to be aware. So that would get you to the state of awareness. So far as you have this spirit of inquiry about what the awareness is. And there's no more me or you or words, God, whatever. It's just the silence. There may be a liveliness, calm, quiet, blissful sense, peace. And that's the other dimension compared to the mind dimension, which is more limited by the logic. This other dimension, there's no clear logic, so to speak. It's just the way things are. The logic usually defined by the words, and there's a constraint and the rules for the use of the word and limitation, like a me and you and what and what's not. But this is beyond yes or no. So it's absolute state. Some may call it non-duality, because it's just oneness, that everything is connected to each other and one. So that's the bottom, if you call it, of the consciousness, and therefore you arrived at the nirvana, because it's a liberated state and comes with the bliss, all the energy floating and moving around, and you sense it, and you are one. There's no duality, there's no you. So when I say you are one, meaning that I don't know what to say, the word cannot express that, but just the void, blue sky, the koan I mentioned, Nanzen and Joshu in the previous video. So living life has lots of burden and suffering. To go with using our mind, things work this way, that way, we have suffering. And how to come out of it, we gain insight or wisdom. And the wisdom is connected to how the law of the universe, thy will be done, to be manifesting in the way to teach us. So if we know ourselves, how the mind works, good or bad, and learn the lesson, if we make a mistake, you learn, and that's one. But down deep is the manifestation of the universe, the law of the universe prevailing. And in there is oneness, no good and bad, no duality. So the logical mind, for lawyers, they don't agree if there's such a state, because their work doesn't exist. But the being as a human coming from the origin of the universe, and that is happening every moment. And if you can connect to that experience, a state of being, there's absolute sense of peace and happiness beyond the mind, beyond the logic. For that to be experienced, to me, is major awakening. There is absolute sense of affirmation of life and appreciation to come with it. That we are that state living in us. Whether we can connect to that is not a big difference. Kind of like connecting to God, if we may call it, or connecting to the law of the universe, how it's manifested. And of course, by the logic, you can, to a degree, explain it that you cannot live because of your will, because something is happening, and eating food is digested and converted to some nutrition into the bloodstream and hormone, whatever, and the mind cannot control it, maybe to a degree, and you can benefit from that study and the science. But all the mystery of our life, it's so far apart from what the mind can do. So that's the two dimensions of the mind versus what's in the universe, what's manifesting, and how. And when we can reach that, we can call it connecting to God, the God way. I don't know what's the best way to explain it. The word cannot carry any weight on this. But whether or not we have that experience, that experiential wisdom that we can connect to, that'll make a huge difference, I think, I believe, in living our life. There's an absolute sense of being. So let's give it a try to connect to that by practicing. I'm aware that I'm aware, or I'm not aware that I'm not aware. Sounds very illogical, but the talk is cheap, and my point here is to express whatever I think makes sense to live life with a strong affirmation of being, the root of our being, to make the most of what we have on this earth. Thank you.